Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Well, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, sorry everyone, we're a little late today. I'm Tom Brush. This is Bob Graham. I had some slow computer issues, so hopefully that won't bother us during the show. But I had to get some things squared away and uploaded, and it just took a little bit longer than I had thought. Anyhow, welcome to today's edition of today's Antidote, where we try to help you provide that one thing that can help you through the day, help you get to whatever is going on, get through whatever's going on, and help you take your next step. And, today or this week, we've been talking about empowering others with our capital R in Empower. And I think for those who haven't watched the show before, that's really what we say is what's real. It's who you are. And
not we, you, and me, what we internally, each of us say.
Correct. The collective we.
Yeah. No, the individual we.
Well, right. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
The Queen's we.
Then there's
what I think is right for, or what I think is real for me in the moment is what is real. Correct.
That is correct. Yes. And we've been talking about that all week. We've been talking about how we can empower others. We first talked a little bit about on Monday what that meant. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about why it matters. Today, what we want to talk a little bit is about the language that we use, because that becomes the key piece in all of this, I think, in that if we are going to truly empower others, it's going to be important that we have the right language to share with them, or the right language to attract them as a way to empower them to be advocates for us or supporters for us, clients, customers, whatever it might be. And so we want to talk a little bit about that today. So why don't you talk your thoughts a little bit about that, Bob? What does that mean to you?
Well, it's funny about this language thing. I thought you were going to go in a direction because I sent you a note yesterday, and I thought you were going to bring that note up and talk about it because it seems like it's pertinent to what we're discussing.
Yeah,
and we didn't get to talk through it.
I thought you might lead into it, but that's all right. Let's do that. So actually, it's interesting because there are two things that happened yesterday that I found interesting. One, Bob and I had a conversation. We'll get back to that in a minute. The second was someone posted in a Facebook group that they wanted someone to look at their social media, their website, whatever, and just give them feedback. This was, I think, a day and a half ago. So I went in and I was sitting watching football or doing something. And so I thought I'll just go in and be a nice guy and try to add a little value. And so when I looked at it, they talked a lot about what they did, but not really who they did it for or why it mattered. And I think, so I just shared that with him. I said, look, here's, I think that one of the challenges that I'm not sure. One, I know by reading your thing who you work with, because all you're telling me is what you do, which in the field that they were in, they probably understood it. But that doesn't mean anybody else who could be helpful might understand it. I had no idea who the perfect client for them might be. So we had a little back and forth on Facebook about it. And, I tried to share that one of the things I like to think about is what's real for my client. What's the language that they speak? And why that's so important in attracting others. Because once we find a way to drive, and we talked about this last week, the difference between advertising and messaging. And on social media, you're really, you might do some advertising, but for a lot of small businesses, or even for nonprofits or organizations trying to attract people, they're messaging. And so we had this little back and forth, and I think we're going to have another conversation on Friday. And I thought it was just interesting that because I took a chance and decided to add some value to help somebody out, that now we've created this little connection, relationship. And again, that is what it's all about, because I felt like what was real for me, I was not getting it. So I needed to better understand what was real in their world. And then you had sent me a note. We had a conversation. I forget how it all started, but you were talking to someone and they used language that you were surprised by. And I thought, as we discussed earlier, we thought this would be a good conversation to talk about, as language truly does matter. So why don't you set that scenario up, Bob, for us?
So I've done some work in an industry, and in that industry, one of the organizations that supports that industry has had me speak a number of times. I've done some workshops for them, even for their employees. Another industry organization contacted me last week and said, we'd like to talk to you about speaking at our upcoming conference. And I said, okay, let's talk about it. And we finally had a meeting about it on Monday. And I said, what are you looking for? Which is a fairly common question when I ask someone about speaking, because there's a list of topics that I speak on and I want to understand what they're looking for from me. And the answer I got was surprising to me. And that was simply you. So imagine asking, usually it's like, well, we'd like you to talk about this. We'd like you to talk about that. We'd like you to talk about these things. Could you wrap this in? This was, we want you. And I sent Tom a note. I don't remember exactly what I said. I can go back to it because I think it was.
You said that's funny. Or you said something else. And I said, why is that funny? And they said, because they said you.
Yes.
And my question now will go back to, why is that funny?
Well, to use the language we're using, what's real for me is that that's not what I anticipated them to say. I expected them, because the focus shifted from what I present to me as a person. And while those two are integrated, sometimes I struggle with that. I don't always have that belief in myself that others might have in me. So when someone says to me something and says, I mean, that's an outward statement, we believe in you.
We know,
I struggle with that.
Yeah, well, I think that what that says to me, if you want to go through my equation, is that on the side of it, experience and perspective might add to that, and I think I even said to you yesterday, how many times do you think they reach out to other well-known speakers, famous or not, to say, we've heard you're really good. We want you. Whatever you want to talk about, we'd like it to be in this message, but we want you. I mean, I'm sure for people who get paid a lot of money, that becomes pretty regular. And I think that you haven't had that opportunity where you have worked with a group long enough, let's say, or they know you well enough.
Or in an industry long enough.
Correct. And they believe that you understand the industry, that they would reach out and say that. And I think what's happening is, one, you're starting to learn that this is an industry you've got some experience with. And so maybe that changes a little bit about what's real for you. Like, who should I go after? Who should I be talking to? What other opportunities might be there? Okay. And that you have become someone who has become a trusted advisor that they know, like, and trust. And so, yeah, they want you. They want to come back because they know whatever it is you're going to talk about, they think is going to have value for their members. So in reality, what I think our challenges are when we don't believe, surprised by something, is that we just haven't had that experience before. We don't have that perspective that somebody actually might really be interested in us. Not necessarily what we do or how we do it or whatever, but that what we bring to the table is what they're looking for.
As you said that, Tom, I think the thing for me, and I'm sure I'm not alone, and hopefully this resonates with someone who's paying attention to this today, is it goes from the things I do to me being the one who does them. And that can be a transition. And while I know I'm the one who stands up and does the speaking, and I'm the one who comes up with the content, and I know I do a good job at that with this industry. I know that. I'm well aware of that. That doesn't surprise me. But when someone basically gives the level of trust, we believe in you. You'll figure it out. You know this better than we do. That can be somewhat unsettling after all the time that we invest trying to figure something out. When someone tells us that we've actually figured it out, that's a whole new perspective. That sets into motion a whole bunch of new circumstances, new challenges. You know, when that was said to me, my first thought was, oh, do I charge them more? Oh, I've got to make sure I've got to do this perfectly. Oh no, now the pressure's on me because they're counting on me. All those things that go through your head, I think that was the shift for me, that it started to be like, oh my. And I'm not always comfortable. When someone says something about this program, says, oh, I've been paying attention to your program, it's really great, it's really helped me. My first reaction is, whoa, what's wrong with you? Not, that's very kind of you. I struggle. I mean, I just have a hard time accepting the good things I do. And that's a perspective shift that I need to tweak, even though I know I do good things.
Well, I think that's the challenge, right? Is that we all like to believe that what we do, and we probably, because it's what's real for us, believe that what we're doing is we do it well. Sometimes accepting praise for that is not always easy. You know, for some people, they're a little more comfortable with it, and that's fine. That's what's real for them. For others, it's not. I have a coach who always says, and I think she firmly believes this, that when someone gives you a compliment, what you should say is, it's true. Thank you. It's true. As a way, not to be like
a jerk.
Right. Or to be arrogant about it. I think her message is we have to start to accept that there are things that we are all really good at, that are what's real for us. And that when others tell us that, in some regards, when we blow that off as like, oh yeah, whatever, or, you know, like you just said, you know, what's wrong with you? Why would you watch that? What have we just done to the person who we've said that to?
Right.
Now we've
devalued them.
Correct. Rather than saying, wow, I really appreciate it. That's great. So glad you listened and that you get value from it. I find that I have heard that from others. You know, that is the piece where for us getting comfortable with that perspective that, yes, we do put good things out there in the world, each and every one of us. Someone is going to benefit from it and is going to make what's real for them different. And that we need to accept and pray and not celebrate that, really, not praise it, but to celebrate it. And to now to understand, now that that's happened, the likelihood that might happen again. And that as it does, the more positive we react, the more it reinforces to the person who shares it that A, we're thankful that they did that, and B, that what we're doing is actually has value and makes sense. And so I think, you know, as we look at that and as you think about that, imagine what your next experience will be the next time somebody says that to you.
Right.
So, you know, we can work on the topic or whatever, but what we just want you because of what we've seen or heard or somebody has told us, or, you know, we had that last week. Christy, who is an interior designer, someone called her up and said, hey, I know you do homes for private individuals. Would you ever do commercial? One of that things is now she's getting feedback that, wow, it's not just about what I'm saying I'm doing. It's about who I am and how I do it and what others have heard. And it's a lot about how do we build that know, like, and trust. You know, I had somebody who called me up and said, hey, my boss came to me and said I could get some coaching. They thought it would be helpful for me. He said, the first person I thought of was you. And one, I again, I was the same way. I sort of struggled with that. I'm like, oh, well, I was thankful. And what I figured out was that all the things that I had done when the pandemic started, she had experienced and knew kind of, even though I didn't say, I said what I did and what I was doing, but more it was just about the value that I was adding and how I was adding it. and that resonated with them. And so then it was more about, they weren't even that concerned about like, well, what does it look like? Yeah, they asked, but they just knew that this was the right experience for them and the right connection, or they had a right sense that this was going to work. And so I think that as we start to learn get those responses, we need to take that language and understand how powerful it actually is and not blow it off, and now start to see it as, this is who we are. Now, obviously you can take it to the extreme and, see that as, that you're this all powerful person that can do no wrong. No. And likely what will happen is the new reality for you will be, I might not be as focused when I go to give that presentation. I might not do as much prep work because, they don't care. They just want me.
Right.
Which typically means that sometimes we're not going to be as successful, and that might change the perception of what they're looking for the future.
Well, it's funny. I don't think I'm alone in all this. And I think the other thing that's at play here, Tom, is that as we get closer to what makes us uniquely skilled, as we move away from what we've always done to what we really believe we're meant to do, we take a greater risk. I put myself out on the line much more now than I ever did before. I'm doing it right now, frankly. And as we get closer to our core, I think we put the protective shell up more to protect us and armor us from the damage and pain that could come. Because if you say to me, Bob, you're a really bad speaker, you're horrible, that's going to hurt me at my core a lot at this point, because I've worked really hard at that. So as we get to that R, when our knowledge, experience, and perspective come together, and we really zero in on who and what we are uniquely, we're at greater risk.
Yeah, can I put up a comment? I didn't mean to interrupt. Steve has a comment here that says, you're certainly not alone, but I'm definitely jealous of someone saying we want you. And I think one of the things that it does, as we hear this, is we start comparing ourselves, right? Either to what we believe or to others we have seen. And I think that's where we start to get, we start to struggle. We start to be jealous, is that, I look at you saying that, be like, why isn't anybody saying that about me? And, that goes through my head occasionally, like, you've got the speaking opportunity. Like, all right, how do I do that? What can I do to get opportunities like that? When in reality, that's not where I'm at, and that's not what's real for me at the moment. I likely need some new knowledge, experience, and perspective to get me to a point where I'm dealing with more people, so more people understand who and what I am. They know, like, and trust what I do. Now they're saying, yeah, we really don't necessarily care the specifics of what you do. We just want you because we've seen, heard, or experienced how you have helped people move forward. And so I think for Steve's comment is, rather than thinking about it as, I wish that was me, think about it as, okay, what more do I need on that other side of the equation? What other knowledge, experience, and perspective do I need to help me get to that point where others are saying the same thing about me? Because once we start comparing, now we're going to get stuck. We're going to get frustrated. Right. We're going to just lose all of the positivity we might have had to be like, I wish I was getting that. Here's the thing. We are all different. We all have different experiences. So no one else will ever get to the exact real of where you are, because we've all had different experiences, perspective, and knowledge. And so the idea of comparing, to me, the more I have thought about it, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yet the language that we hear makes us think about comparing us to someone else.
Right. And I would say two things. One, I didn't bring this up to be, oh, I'm amazing. Quite the opposite, if anything. And then the second thing I would say is, each time someone agrees to work with us, whether you're a leader in a company and a vendor chooses to work with you, or an employee comes to work at your nonprofit, or you're a business owner and you get a new client, that's when they've chosen you. So if you have any business, they don't say that. They don't go, oh, we want you, Bob, or we want you, Tom, to do whatever you do. But that's what they're saying. The minute you're signing that contract. So anyone who's made any money or done any work for anyone else has been told that it's you. So if you think of it that way, these people just use that phrase. That's what they said. That's a rarity. But I've had plenty of people sign contracts with me.
Right.
I'm a one-man company.
So here's the thing I want to go back to. The statement, again, you made was a very limiting, almost disqualifying statement. I didn't bring this up because I'm amazing. What if you said to yourself?
No. I didn't say that. I didn't say I didn't bring this up because I'm amazing. I said I didn't bring this up because I didn't want people to think that I was amazing or whatever.
Why would you not want that?
I suffer with some, I don't want to be the arrogant jerk that people sometimes think I am.
What if it's not arrogance? What if it's just what's real? You told a story that's what's real. Clearly, this organization thinks that you're amazing because basically they told you that through their language. And, if we get back to empowering others, this client gave you the opportunity to be more empowered, to be like, yeah, I've got something going on here and I should feel good about that. And I should celebrate that. And it's funny. I think we've talked about it in this group. We once did an exercise with my group last year where we were challenged to brag about something for 30 days and people struggled with it. And in reality, it's not bragging. It's just saying something that's real for you. So why can't we celebrate that and with people around us who want to celebrate what's real with you? Like, in some regards, I was ecstatic that you got that message. I thought that was awesome because I know you've worked hard with this organization and you are now at a point where they more than just know, like, and trust you. They think you're amazing and they told you that. So how do we take those messages and allow them to empower us rather than push them aside?
Well, I think for me, it's the perspective shift. It's adding this new perspective to what I believe about myself and saying, wow, this group really thinks I'm amazing. That's great. And to extrapolate, if this group thinks I'm amazing and they shared it with me, statistically, there are probably other groups, other people out there who think I'm amazing and don't share it with me because we know that typically most people don't share. Correct. So as I think through this right now, I take it from the one group saying I'm amazing to, wow, maybe there is a part of me that's amazing and there are more people that think that than I realize. And where that could translate for me is maybe I don't have to prove myself as much going forward. Maybe I just need to be who I am. Whew.
You need to be what's real for you.
My therapist would have loved that sentence. She'd have been like, finally.
Correct. Right? It's a matter of getting to that point where saying we all have so much value that we give all the time. And as you mentioned, very rarely are we recognized for it. And typically when we are, because we don't get it that often, we kind of brush it off. Like, yeah, that's that. What are you talking about? That's funny. I didn't bring this up because I'm amazing. Those things are our way, as you said, of deflecting and almost beating ourselves up. Right? Because anytime somebody gives you a compliment, and you're like, nah, I'm not really. What are you saying? You're just attacking yourself.
Yes.
Which is no wonder that why so often we struggle with where we're at, because we don't allow ourselves to celebrate and feel good about the good things that we've done and that people have shared with us by saying it's true.
All right. Since you said that, I'll put Tim's comment up. This is hard for me to do, but Tim, a great friend, we've done some business together, and he says you're amazing. Just thought you should own that. Thank you, Tim. That's very kind of you. That means a lot to me. You have no idea. I will certainly own that. That is one of the kindest things I think I've ever heard.
So I think that, do you want to offer your one thing for today, or do you want me to do that?
I just want to crawl into the corner and go, did I say too much about myself again? You know that feeling. You've had that feeling when we've done this a couple times.
I'm trying to get over that. I'm trying to say that, you know what? It is real. It's what it is. And because of that,
I still get up on the horse.
Correct. Well, those are always the challenges, right?
Yep.
And what's interesting is so often we knock ourselves off that horse.
Indeed.
You know, when someone tells us that we do something well and we blow it off, we're knocking ourselves off the horse. We don't need a whole lot of help to knock ourselves off the horse.
No, we're professionals at that, all of us, I think.
Correct. So how do we change what's real about that? So I'm going to offer my one thought for today.
Please.
Is, we're talking about language matters and how we empower people. And what I would offer is that whether you are sharing that message or you are receiving that message, let the words that people use empower you. Don't deflect them. Don't brush them off. Accept them. Good or, whether you think they're good or bad, it's just what it is. It's what's real for them, and they're sharing with you. That gives us an opportunity. Now we've gained new knowledge, experience, or perspective so that it influences what's real for us. And we take it all as a part of this collective to figure out what is our reality. So let the words that come in empower you. Empower you to keep going forward, to change direction, to do something maybe a little different, to accept the positive things that you do and the value that you offer to the world. That's my one thing for today. How about that? How was that?
I like that. I would add the one thing, celebrate how far you've come, because it occurred to me as we were talking about this, that this has been 3.5 years of hard work with this industry. This didn't come about over 5 hours. This has been a lot of sweat, a lot of toil, a lot of hard work. And I think I hadn't really thought about that part of it. It's like, wow, this is a great milestone. Doesn't mean the end. Just means, wow, we can go so much further. In fact, we talked before the program about where I see it going, where it could possibly go, because new perspective, and now I can carry it in a further direction.
So watch this. So now you have the opportunity to create a new destination.
Ooh.
Figure out what's your next step. And
if only I had a way to do that, Tom, a process, something that would help me set up for next year.
So think about that, everyone. We are, and I'll play a little video about it in just a minute. We are going to be running a workshop at the end of the month, December 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, called Creating Your Destination, helping you find clarity around your audience, your message, and your marketing so that you can be prepared to take your next step in 2021, whatever that destination looks like. So Bob already's got some work to do to figure out what's the next destination with this industry. And there's going to be an opportunity that we'll share some information about that at the end. So thanks for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed today's edition of Today's Antidote. If you're not a member of the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, you can join us. Just search for Ring of Renegades on Facebook, and it's a private group where we have conversations and discussions and thoughts about things like this every day. It's a great way to help you, your organization, your business figure out how to take those next steps and get unstuck. And if this is the first time watching, we'll hope you'll be back tomorrow morning, because we'll be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time for the next edition of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone, and we will either see you inside of the group or we'll see you back here tomorrow at 8 a.m. Here's some information about the workshop we're doing at the end of the month. Have a great day.
What's your next destination? 2020 was a challenging year for business owners, leaders, and nonprofits. Whether it was a boom, a bust, or pivoting to something new, on December 31st we will have reached a destination along our pathway. Now it is time to chart your next destination with new knowledge, experience, and perspective. Given all that has happened this year, are you clear on what is real for your audience? What to say, how to say it, and where to say it. No matter how your year went, being clear on these things is critical. Yet setting long-term goals during these times is challenging and confusing. Who can predict what things will look like in a year or 6 months? Charting our next destination provides focus, clarity, and direction. On December 28th to 31st, join our workshop where we will help you identify what your audience needs, how to speak to them, and where to find them. Can't make one day? Don't worry, it will all be recorded and available early afternoon each day. This interactive and collaborative effort will have you ready to take your next step. Register now and jumpstart your 2021. Chart your next destination and your unique pathway to success.